Welcome to Victorious Parenting. I'm your host, Arabella Hill. Now's the time to transform your home life and make parenting a breeze by learning and applying new strategies. Let's get into it and talk to you about something that I learned recently, and I think that may actually really help you. But first, I want to give you a little bit of a story, and it's going to really highlight the importance of why we should be fighting for our children, especially during these times, and how that we ourselves as parents can gain the momentum to gain that energy within ourselves that we need, not just to get ourselves through these times, but to help our children get through these times as well. So one of my son's friends, she's a doll. She's adorable. The sweetest, most adorable teenage girl you can ever meet. You know, you get some of those teenage girls with attitudes, and she doesn't have an attitude, like a bad attitude. She is so sweet and everything. And she is so outgoing. She's like a social butterfly, always going out and things like that. So recently, my son's been really struggling to get in contact with her and just wanted to see if she's okay. It turns out, because of coronavirus, she's developed extreme anxiety and she won't go outside. She won't go to skating. Normally they go skating together and things like that, roller skating. She won't go out and do those things because she's developed what she says is germophobia, and she's paranoid because of the coronavirus and all the things that she's heard in the media. She won't go outside often, and which is completely unlike her whatsoever. So her friendships have taken a dive. She wanted to go and do a college course. She hasn't done that either. Everything has taken a dive, and we all know that once you start getting yourself in a rut with your mental health like that, it can be very difficult to then pull yourself out of it. Now, I don't know her parents very well, and I don't know what's really going on in the family dynamics, but I wanted to use this story as one case, because this is just one case out of many, I'm sure, of children suffering because of the crap that 2020 has brought us. And nothing makes me angrier than to seeing good kids suffer for no reason whatsoever. She doesn't need to be suffering in this way. And I fully blame our governments and the media for, you know, putting all that fear, majority of the media, fear mongering completely. But apart from turning off the TV, apart from trying to shelter our kids from that, I think what this year has really been doing is been trying to get us to put a wall, not just around our borders. Like, I think my borders in Queensland are still closed. This whole year has been designed to try and get us to put borders around ourselves, because when we are stressed out, when we are facing uncertainty, the first thing we normally do is go into protective mode. We kind of go like this, and we want to like protect ourselves. And usually we do that by reducing the amount of stimulus in our environment. We start shutting people away. We start shutting things down. We don't do the things that make us happy anymore and go out and enjoy ourselves the way we have before, because it's fear. And if 2020 can be described as anything, it's called fear mongering. And I have been, as you know, if you've watched my last video, through extreme trauma in my life. And so I know fear like it's my friend. But why am I still standing today? Because I crushed it. That's why. Because I don't let fear shut me down. And I still feel fear. I still get stressed, but I don't stay there. I don't let that permeate my soul. I don't let that become a part of my psychology and who I am. In fact, I let fear wind me up. I feel fear and I think to myself, well, that means I've got to do it even more. If I'm afraid of something, it means that is a challenge. That is an indicator to me that is something that I need to overcome. And I feel the fear and I do it anyway. That's how you get over anxiety. That's how you get over the things that want to shut you down. So while like my friends in Victoria, you can't physically go out, you're getting arrested left, right, and center, and it's ridiculous, all these extreme lockdowns. And while they can control your movement, one thing that this year, no matter what law, no matter nothing, they can't control your mindset. They can't control what's going up in here. And I have had those situations in my life where I've not had that freedom of movement during some period of time, where I have not had a physical choice, much like many of you who are in lockdowns and we have to do social distancing. We're kind of made to do it via the law, but they can't control your mind. They can't take you up here. Nothing, no amount of stress or trauma, no amount of nothing can take you up here unless you allow it to. And so I'm really big on strategy. As you know, if you bought my book or any of my courses, is really heavy on strategy. But what I started to realize recently is that perhaps there's something missing from what I've been giving out personally as well. And I've discovered what is missing. And this is something that I do naturally, but it's different when you do something naturally compared to when you're teaching others about it. So I want to share with you something today that I learned, and I think it could help you help yourself and help your kids overcome this fear and to help start to get your mindset right. And that's what I'm going to start focusing on in my videos and things like that to help you with your mindset. I've got a lot of good strategies, but if your mindset isn't right, you're not going to be able to apply them and then see the results. So I'm just going to read what I wrote down. So I wrote down is that the right strategy, it will save you decades of time. I love strategy because I have been through a lot of times in my life where I just don't know how to solve the problem. And I'm a big problem solver. Like I have always said that if you don't like something, change it. And we sometimes just don't know how to change it. So the right strategy will save you decades of time because everything requires strategy. Your relationship, your finances, your health, everything, your parenting, everything you do requires a strategy, a new strategy. And if you get the right strategy, my goodness, that can just propel you forward so fast. You don't have to be in the muck for decades trying to figure things out. With the right strategy, you can get there in half the time or less. However, there is an issue if you just have strategy only. Because what you tell yourself, the inner story that you've got going up on inside your head every day, will prevent you from seeing the strategy and from executing on it properly and from seeing the results. So what you need is the right story. So what story are you telling yourself today about your circumstances, about your kids? Is it your relationship? Is it your finances? Is it your child's behavior? Whether you have to homeschool or send your kids to school, what story are you telling yourself? And I can guarantee the majority of you have been telling yourself a story that is steeped in powerlessness and hopelessness. And I fully resonate with that. I fully 100% understand that narrative, that feeling of helplessness and of powerlessness, because it's coming from every aspect in our society right now. And that is the main theme. Like, I'm the kind of person that I hear and see things, but I don't really take in the surface thing that I'm hearing and seeing. I'm always trying to discover what is the premise, what is the real root, what are they really trying to do here? What is the consequence of this? And I've seen nothing but powerlessness, helplessness, powerlessness, helplessness throughout this entire year. And I don't know about you, but I'm sick of it. And I don't take that lying down very well. We need to fight for ourselves and to fight for our children. So we need to do that by starting to tell ourselves a new story. You are not powerless. You are not helpless. Even if you're in Victoria or the other parts of the world where you're in very strict lockdown, yes, you are restrained in your physical body, but there is so much you can still do. You do have options to better yourself. You may not be able to go out to the gym like you used to. You may not be able to go and have barbecues with friends and things like that the way that you used to. But, you know, in tough times, the people that succeed are not the people that have the greatest resources. And I think we have an abundance of resources in our Western society. And now a lot of those resources are being taken away. We are going to have to learn how to thrive without an abundance of resources, because that is called being resourceful. Being resourceful doesn't necessarily mean that you have an abundance of resources. It means that you stretch. You use what you have around you. You think about things in creative ways and you just make it work. You do it every single day. So what is the story that you're telling yourself? Because the story that you are telling yourself is the only thing that is keeping you from getting what you really want. Now that quote, I can't claim that. That's a Tony Robbins quote, and it is so true. The only thing that is keeping you from what you want in this life is the story that you tell yourself. For example, there can be two people that look up at the clear blue sky. One will say, what a beautiful indigo sky. And the other one will say, it's not indigo. That is actually light baby blue. Who's right? They're both right, because it's down to the story that they're telling themselves. It's down to their perception. One's not more right than other. You can look at the same thing and derive something completely different from it. So I want to challenge you today to look at your circumstances and to take the biggest challenge that you have, that you're facing right now, whether it's your relationships or your finances, or is it worrying over your children. Take what the biggest thing that you're facing today and ask yourself, what is the story that you are telling yourself about this situation? Just be really real. Even you have to write it down. Do some brainstorming. What is your thought process when you are going through this stress? How does it look in your mind? What pictures come to your mind? What images? Are they fierce and powerful and I'm an overcomer and I've got this image? Or is it learned powerlessness and learned helplessness? Is it rooted and based in fear? So I want to challenge you to become fierce. Fierce isn't a look. It isn't what you wear. Fierce is an attitude. It is a choice. You can choose to be fierce. And I'll read this thing out to you as before we close. Being fierce is empowering. And it is a huge favor that you can do for yourself, because being fierce means standing your ground when the going gets tough. A woman who is fierce is always looking to better herself and the world around her. So you can be fierce even though your resources have been taken away, even though you're limited the way that perhaps you have never been limited before. And I know all about that. I have been through a lot where I've been limited so much, and I've had to have two choices. And believe me, there's times where I wanted to sit down and just feel sorry for myself. And sometimes I did. I was like, okay, I'm going to give myself a day to get angry, to be upset about this. But then I am going to dang well stand up the next day and I am going to find a way through it, because I'm not going to let this situation break me. I'm going to let it make me a better person, make me a stronger person. That's what adversity does. And we need to have that attitude, especially as mothers. We need to fight for our children. They don't have the emotional resources in order to process this information, and it comes out as anxiety, it comes out as fear, it comes out exactly as the story I told you at the beginning. So it is up to us in order to generate that fierceness within ourselves, to change the story that's going on in our own heads, in our own minds, in our own hearts, and step it up for our kids. Because when we have that attitude, everybody changes around you. When you step into that, when you step into yourself and you are fully yourself and you just refuse to take this lying down, this comes back to you. People take notice, and it permeates into the way you deal with your children, the way you deal with your partner or husband or wife, the way you deal with your friends, the way you deal with all of your circumstances. It permeates into everything that you have. So my challenge for you today is question the story that's going on in your head and choose to be fierce.
If you would like access to more parenting resources and a big supportive community, I'd like to invite you to our Facebook group, Victorious Parenting. I give regular content every single day, and we have a unit section where you can find all the best content. There are some short form and long form content in there, like the Grey Rock method and how to deal with sibling rivalry. And as well, you'll get to be a part of a great big community of parents who are becoming victorious just like you. We'd love to have you join us in Victorious Parenting. Discover the 7 biggest mistakes parents make that can lower their child's self-esteem forever. PromotingSelfesteem.com.